We are here today and we bring you a very serious topic that needs to be discussed within the community today. I'm your host, Henry Akello, and next to me is my co-host,
Penina Lauzi.
So today I will talk about the accessibility, the healthcare accessibility, that is bridging the gap in rural areas, whereby we are going to focus on the challenges that affect the teenagers within the rural setup. Why do we keep on having teenage pregnancies, among other things? So what I'll handle as Henry will be the healthcare accessibility.
And on my side, I'll handle about the teenage pregnancies and the challenges that bring about the teenage pregnancy menace.
So access to quality healthcare in most areas is so fundamental, and this is where we'll be focused so much on the rural setup. So that most of the areas, most of these problems, we see them rise up in the rural setup areas. So how are we able to, through the healthcare, how are we able to bridge the gap so that at least we know that at the end of the day, most of the teenagers are covered in terms of the health provision, the healthcare services that they need, so that we are able to stop or reduce the chances of we having several people interrupting educations in their life and also making them not achieve their goals. So what are we able to do as a society?
And at the same time, teenage pregnancies is a very big challenge because we see most kids don't get to go to school, complete their education, because the kids finally become parents at a very tender age. But where exactly is the problem coming in? Because a child cannot get pregnant alone. Somebody must have made the girl pregnant. So who does it, and why is it happening in our society right now? So those are the type of things we need to discuss and get to the bottom of it and understand the real reason behind it.
So under the health provision, I'll go straight to one key area. And this is an area whereby I'm going to look at the challenges in the rural healthcare. What do we have as challenges within the rural healthcare? Some of these medical facilities that we have within the rural setup, do they have the standard qualified personnel? Do they have the services that are needed for the teenagers? Do they have the drugs? Do they have the personnel who are able to educate and also take the teenagers through the process of being teenage until when they realize that they are adults? So the workforce is what I believe as a person is something that needs to be focused on. Because if we have a dispensary within a rural setup, how are we able to be sure that the medical practitioner in one point or the other will be able to engage with the teenagers around and also be able to guide them and also be able to educate them? Because we all believe that at one point or the other, the teenage pregnancy starts, the teenage starts from around 10. From 10 years, this is a person that you should be able to sit down and have a discussion with them. If at all we cannot do it through the parental way, we can as well get an avenue whereby we bring them to the health facilities when they come in. But our health workers able to have these discussions with them, so that we have the nurse there, we have a doctor there, we have a trained personnel who are able. We usually have the social workers. The social workers, this is one key area that I believe they will be able to help in able to handle the teenagers and able to bring them, source them from the community, bring them into the facility, and they are able to have a discussion within the facility. We also look at the affordability. Are these services affordable to the people? Because you realize when we look at a rural setup, we are looking at parents that most of them, their financial status are slightly low. they will not be able to afford a service that maybe is on the higher side. So how can the government be able to moderate, or how can the government be able to bring these services to a lower a figure or a low amount or affordable to the people within the community, so that their kids are able to walk to this facility and are able also to get help. For instance, we believe that most of the challenges we have in the health care facilities within the rural areas, one, maybe the drugs. Most of the drugs are not available. But in this particular time, we are not looking at particularly the drug. We are looking at how are we able to form a workforce that is able to sit down the teenagers and educate them on their sexuality, educate them on the changes that they get within their body as they grow up in life. When we do that, that will be able to stop them from doing other things that will expose them to teenage pregnancy, will also expose them to early infections. So from this, we are able to start by reducing chances of these teenagers getting involved into any other activity that will jeopardize their health. The last thing is the transportation barrier. You look at the difference in most institutions or most rural areas is the transport barrier. Difficulty in reaching health institution. There's one time I walked around Kilifi area and I realized the most of the dispensaries that we have are quite far and they are quite a distance for the communities living around. So imagine if someone wants to cover about 3 kilometers and this person has no money to get the transport. So you want to tell me this kid is at home, this young lady is at home, is going through a lot, want to visit the facility, the parents cannot afford the fare to take this child to the facility, but the child has to get access to this facility. So you can imagine the distance that this child has to cover on foot, and this is one thing that usually exposes them now to some other challenges that they face along the line. So let me also give my host here also to explain to us how are the girl child able to adopt and adjust to some of these cases that we have around.
In accordance to what you just mentioned about the health facilities, I feel like sometimes the health facilities aid in creating the menace to make it even worse, because a teenager will get pregnant because they didn't have a parent to guide them, the society did not guide them in the right way, and then after they get pregnant, the health facility helps in eliminating the pregnancies. So that makes it even worse. So they find a way to get to the health facility, but instead of them getting the help before things go bad, they get help in eliminating. So they don't learn the lesson as to why they should not engage in premarital sex, in teenage sex. They only learn how to cope or to eliminate the pregnancy after that. So, and also about infrastructure, the hospitals might be too far, they don't have the proper guidance to and the resources to get there. And now transport, maybe they need to move from one place to the other, and the only way they can move, for instance in our area in Malindi, they use motorbikes.
Yes.
So if they don't have the money to pay these motorbike guys every single day to get transported, they pick one or two who would love to have a sexual relation with them, and now that is the charge they pay for the movement. So these are other things that I think parents need to be very engaged with their teenagers, know what exactly they are doing, how they can help them, and how they can control. Because without the parent being present, you won't know what the child is doing. You need to be very present and very aware of what your child is doing at all time. And the teenagers also need to be close, to feel close to the parent. If there's anything they need, the parent should be the first person they go to. Because if you have a guy out there giving you more attention than the parents do, it's not something that's okay for you to do. You need to find guidance from your parents, but if the guidance is not provided, then you'll get it from somewhere. And you end up getting it from the wrong
person. We look at teenage pregnancies in most of the rural setup. Our base today touches on the rural setup, particularly because this is where we have a bigger number. But now, let me put it this way. In your own way of explaining, I think you're coming through by saying there is lack of access to sexual and reproductive health education in those areas. Now, if at all today in the society that we live today, our parents, because parents should be the first people to start by having these conversations with their teenage girls before they even reach the health setup.
Yeah.
They should start right at home.
Yes.
So are there possibilities that we still have parents having an engagement with their daughters so that they start by understanding what are some of the physical challenges, physical changes that comes, emotional changes that comes with being teenage and also growing to an age of 10? Do we still have such situations?
That is also another challenge that is still in the community, because many parents view sexual conversations as taboos. So they don't have these crucial discussions with their teenagers because they don't know where to start. So these teenagers, teenagers are people who love exploring. So if you don't explain something, they will see it somewhere and they'll want to know more about it. Where do they get the information? Because they have never had their parent discuss about it with them. They've never had anybody in the family talk about it. So they'll go to the fellow teenagers. And the other teenager, if you find someone who has already been exposed to these issues, what will they teach this child? They'll only give them bad information that is not viable. So at the end of the day, the parents also have a very big role to play in their kids' life, because you cannot let the world, people out there, to teach your child. If you want your child to get the right information, then you need to give it
to the child
at home.
Okay. We also have a factor that we've also featured in terms of issues that also make it impossible for our teenagers to get pregnant. One of them being poverty and economic dependency leading to early marriages. You realize that in most areas, as a result of a young lady dropping out from school, is either a parent or it's either someone within the community spotted them and they are now being forced to get married as a source of wealth creation to the family.
Yes. And
this is quite unfortunate, because you realize someone who is still a class 7 or someone who is still a class 8 or as low as class 6 being identified by a grown-up person to become maybe a second wife or a third wife in certain communities, and they're expected to accept and move in as long as this person is going to pay dowry, and this is a source of wealth to the community or to the family.
Which is very sad, because as we all know, marrying someone, even dating someone who is below 18, that's a crime. So when someone goes to pick a child who is still in primary school, what are you doing? This is barely a child. No, you want to put them in the family way. To do what?
Yes.
They cannot even take care of themselves. How will they take care of you as a husband? So sometimes I think we need to look at it from a wider angle. It's not just about the child knowing how to not to do this, but also the parents have an issue. There's something going on that needs to be taken care of. What's going on with the parents? Is it that they don't have the information? Is it that they don't know how to handle the information that they have? Because you cannot just, it doesn't matter what your wealth situation is, but your child is not your gateway to wealth. If it didn't happen before your child, it shouldn't be the way to go.
You mentioned something to do with the cultural norms, the taboos around discussion of sexuality. Do you know that in some communities or in some families, there are parents who cannot sit down their teenagers and have a serious conversation with them about their sexuality?
Yeah, it's still very.
I'm imagining how, as a father, I'm going to bring in my daughter who is 10 years, 12 years, 12, 13 years of age and start telling her, Mom, this and this and this and this is going to happen. And when this happens, there are possibilities of having this and having this and this and that. Is there a way that I believe this relationship must start way much before? If you don't have a good relationship with your daughter or with your son, then that barrier will create a gap. And that gap would mean that a lot are not discussed. So as parents outside here, I believe they tend to wake up in the morning and want to look at how am I going to put food on the table for my family?
Yes.
What are they going to wear? How are they going to go to school? There's this fundamental aspect of, are we doing the right parental, are we going through the right parental way? Because old days, these people used to go to their grandmothers and grandparents, and certain norms we learn from our grandparents. But today, your daughter or my daughter might not even have a privilege to see the grandmother maybe once in a year. And if it is once in a year, it can only take like 2 days or 3 days or 4 days.
Yeah.
And we done off the community. So if the school is not going to offer this, who is going to offer this to this child?
You know, before we even bring in the community, we need to know the type of generation we are dealing with. This generation we are dealing with does not even go out there to the community a lot.
Yes.
Because they have the internet in the house. So they're mostly on their phone. What are they seeing there? And when they see it, what do you as a parent say about it? Because your child will be on the television the whole day. They'll be on their phone, on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram the whole day. Do they feel free to come to you to tell you, okay, Dad, I've seen this. What does this mean? What explanation will you give to them? They have to be free to ask you such questions. So being a parent is not just about financial provision, bringing a shelter, food, clothes.
Making sure people eat.
That is not all about parenting. You need to be available emotionally. And that starts from childhood. When this child was born, were you a present parent? Did you take time to play with them? Did you take time to joke with them? Do they feel safe around you?
And that is why I say the creation of that gap between parent-child is widening.
Yes.
And these days it is too common.
And this generation of kids, they don't take information from their grandparents. They want to hear it from you as a parent, from the horse's mouth.
And maybe sometimes I take very little time with them. I'm back home, someone is so busy, someone is so worked up, tired.
Parents just need to buy time. There's a lot that needs to be done, but this child won't be a child forever. And if you mess them up today, you mess them up forever. So you need to choose. Pick your hard. Is it so hard for you to sit your child down and create a relationship with them, or will it be harder for your child to get pregnant at 10?
At 10.
And know you're a grandmother to a child from your child, because they're both kids. Now, who is the mother to who? It will tear you.
You both have two children.
So you just need to pick your
there.
heart. Yeah, you need to pick your heart.
The mother is still a child.
And the child is a child.
The child is a child.
They are both crying. Now, who will you take care of before the other?
You have now two children.
You have two kids
to deal with. What are some of the consequences that we have around in terms of this is basically not touching most on the boys, but this is touching so much on the girls, because the consequences will definitely land so hard on the girls' side more than the boys. Because I believe when a girl gets pregnant, there is interruption of education.
Sure.
That is one. And this will limit their future opportunities.
Yes.
Now, how do you think this can be handled in a situation where a teenage girl, let's give it an age of 14, is pregnant? You started by accusing, or you started by saying some of the health facilities are part of the problem that we have in the society today.
Yes.
Where you've mentioned that some of them, when this has happened, they now find a way of solving it.
Yes.
So in your own way, what do you think should happen? Here is a case whereby someone is 14 years pregnant, and this person is still a student, actually a pupils in most cases. They have just finished their class 8, or they're just in their class 7, whatever. So what do you think can happen at that particular? How do you think a parent should handle that issue?
You know, first of all,
Yes.
before we even get to the girl being pregnant, we need to know that these kids don't get pregnant by diffusion. For someone to get pregnant, two people are involved,
Yes.
the boy and the girl.
Yes.
So the sexual education that should be given should not only be given to the girl because all the consequences point at her. The guy also was there.
Yes, that's why I
It takes
said.
two to
That's
tango.
why I said I want us to look at the most vulnerable, the one that is going to bear the most.
Yeah, we are
Yes.
looking at the girl.
Yes.
But before we even get to the girl, we also need to educate the boy.
Yes.
Because without educating the both of them, we educate one of them, it's still not going to work.
I do agree
Now-
with that. I do agree with that. And we've looked at the education system,
Yeah.
how we can incorporate this. But now we are looking at everything said and done. This person is now pregnant. So how do we go forward from here? All these are done, but okay, we still have a pregnant child here. So how are we going to go about this? The boys have been educated, they've been told, don't do this, don't engage in this, you might do this, you might do this. But finally, having said all this, having done all this, we have a 14-year-old pregnant girl there. So the consequences will be, one, education will stop. Two, this is going to limit the opportunities of this child in future. So as a parent, how do we deal with this?
As a parent, there are ways you can deal with it because first of all, before you even think of anything else, you need to look at the psychological effect that this thing is going to have on this child.
Yes.
It's going to really disorient them. They're going to be in a very vulnerable situation. If a whole grown-up can be pregnant and go through postpartum depression, things like that, now think about a girl who is already battling with emotions and feelings, foreign things they've never had or felt in their body, and now they're pregnant. These are more hormones coming their way. After childbirth, they'll be traumatized because it might be so hard on them, their body is not fully developed.
Yes.
So there is a lot of psychological issues involved in this. So I don't think pregnancy is something that should put a girl's life at hold. But now at this point they need a lot of support. A very understanding parent. Because if the parent did not teach
we
them.
are within Kilifi County.
Yes.
And Kilifi County was one of the best in terms of teenage pregnancies.
The
Was
best.
leading, when I say the best, was leading. That's what I mean by the best. So you can tell me that being someone who has practiced within Kilifi County, I can tell you the decisions that are usually made are very crucial decisions to be made here. But again, I want to pinpoint this area. Most of the teenage pregnancies that we have around, they are not as a result of the teenage boys who are with them in the same school. Most of them are as a result of other people who are mature outside. And that is why I brought the aspect of poverty. When I was bringing the aspect of poverty, I wanted you to look at what pushes them, what pushes these teenage girls to go out this far. Because you realize that if a study would be done today, you will realize that 80% of the fathers of those kids, they are not even those fellow students, not fellow pupils, but they're those guys outside there. I don't want to mention a particular group because there's a norm that people usually say, these are border people. I don't want to go down that road because even if we look at it keenly, you'll realize that even the border, there's a percentage. But there's also another percentage outside. And this percentage outside are people who are working, people who are just wealth. But why do they go down that road?
They're just taking advantage of the kids because if a child is not getting their needs from the parents, those needs don't stop being needs just because the parent cannot provide.
Yes.
If a child cannot get sanitary provisions, then look for them from somewhere else. Because being in that situation already is shameful to some girls. Now, if you don't have the proper sanitary equipment during that period, it even becomes worse.
Let me give you this scenario. One time, just in a facility, a young lady comes in and a bit soaked and soaked in blood. And when now we look at it keenly, we realize this person is definitely just having a menses. And you see, there was no precaution that was taken, and again, there were no pads that were given to this kid, and this was the second day. The only thing they could do was to use rags, use these clothes, cut them into pieces and use them. Now imagine this kid have a boyfriend somewhere, or have a guy somewhere, or have the same person who dropped them off to school, and this person keep on telling them, oh, you're having this problem, come, I can buy you this. Then they go today, they buy that, and this lady sees, okay, this person is so good to me, he's able to give me this when I want, he's able to take care of this when I want. Do you know how now we are pushing these persons towards doing this? And then the same parents are also going to be accused, on the other hand, that they never took responsibility. Now, the biggest question would be, do we start by controlling birth so that we have a family that we can take care of? So that if I have 2 girls in the house, I'm able to provide for these 2 girls, rather than having 7 kids that I cannot provide for.
I feel like if we start talking about controlling birth, then there's a lot that you're going to add into the mix. Because you can see that most of these people who give birth to a lot of kids are people who are not that well off. And it's not because I think that is the only recreational activity they get to. That is the only thing that makes them so happy. So they are always in the house, no job, no nothing. What do they do?
From a bit of a hustle, they come back to the house. They
come back to the house.
Yes.
So they make babies.
Yes.
And maybe they don't have the right information about contraception and such issues. So it's just a baby after a baby after a baby.
After a baby, yes.
So you find they have a lot of kids. Now when you have a lot of kids, how do you even get time? Are you even in the right mental capacity to see these kids one by one? Do you even have enough tools to teach these kids one by one about these issues? Maybe some will even get in their menses and you have no idea they're in their menses.
They
so
come
who is
home
going to
running
help
and saying,
them?
Mama, I don't know what is happening.
They might not even tell you
because
they are in their menses and somebody out there helps them and they find a way to handle it. By the time you get to know my child got their menses, that's their 5th cycle. How did they manage before they got there? Somebody somewhere helped them. Who did?
Maybe a teacher in school.
So in a way, I believe everybody who decides to have a child, first of all, it should be a decision, because when you decide to have a child, you'll be there 100%. You'll try to be a very present parent. But if you just have kids out of consolation, people will say I'm barren, so I must have 5 kids. Or my people want me to name them. Yes. My people want me to name them. So before I name my father, I have to have 4.
I must start with their family.
I start with the husband's family.
I exhaust their family.
Then I come to mine.
Then I come this other side and also finish.
And I must have my family also in this house.
So that you're talking about 10 people.
So now you have 10 people in the house. Are you able to provide for the 10? So it's a very wide angle that we need to look at it.
So if now this 14-year-old girl that is pregnant, I'm taking you back there because I wanted your opinion on it in terms of how are we going to solve this problem, because you bring in the medical facility in the picture here.
Yes.
Then now this is a scenario whereby now the parents are there, the kid is brought to the facility, and the doctor has confirmed this girl is pregnant. In your opinion, or as a parent, what do you think could have been the best? There's the psychological aspect, there's emotional trauma, there's the physical changes that are happening in this young child, and all these things this child need to deal with. There's also the stigma that is coming in with it right from school. This kid will start by withdrawing from school. So you can imagine we are having a package here to deal with. Now, this is one girl that was performing well will definitely drop because he will start skipping school. So as he skips school, then which means the performance goes down. In the same line, this person is emotionally tortured, physically having a lot happening within herself, psychologically is in so much stress. If she goes home, she doesn't know what to tell, she doesn't know how to tell her mom or how to tell her dad. He runs to the grandmother. The grandmother is hana habari kwamba my granddaughter might be pregnant. Then the person comes and say, oh, okay, come home, I can do with this. Then before they know, they elope with this boy. When they elope with this boy, they have nothing to put on the table. Absolutely nothing to put on the table. This is a 14-year-old. Maybe dating someone who is maybe 20, 22, a school dropout also, but has nothing on the other hand. Now, a child is going to be born here, whether you like it or not, because they have already run away. You're not able to get. But now this one that is here with you, this one that is here with you in the house, you are a parent, you've taken her to the hospital, and the doctor have confirmed, Mama, mtoto akona ball. So, how would you handle it? Or how would you want the facility to help you?
First of all, it's a shock. We will not run away from that.
Exactly.
Because maybe you didn't even know that your child is engaging in sex. Now you get to know it because the child is pregnant.
Yes.
How do you deal with that? It's a lot on you. But now before you even think of hitting the child or screaming at the child, you also need to look at it from their side.
Yes.
Them getting the information that they're pregnant, they're also scared. This is just a child.
Yes.
So if you look at it from their angle, you find that you as a parent also failed somehow. Because how did your child get there? Where were you when all this was happening?
Now, that point you've brought in is the point I wanted. Because these are three people. And all these three people are all having problem. But do you know, the child who is now pregnant is so much under pressure.
Yes.
The mother is under pressure. The father is under pressure. The doctor who is handling the case is even not sure how he or she want to handle this case. Now all these people are seated on a table. Tell me, what do you think a conversation they are going to have, if not just not going to talk about the father's responsibility, not going to talk about the mother's responsibility, all of them are going to narrow it down to the child.
Yes.
And the child will have no decision to make. People will make a decision for her.
Which is the problem.
Yes.
Because this child is 14.
Yes.
She made a decision to go have sex. She needs to make a decision about her body.
She had already made a decision.
I know this is a very controversial
She had already, if you want to talk about making a decision, she had already made a decision and went there.
This is a very controversial topic,
Yes.
but I am not pro-abortion. I'm not pro-abortion. So, if this child is pregnant, they are going to keep the child. And by keeping the child, it helps them deal with some issues, mental issues.
Now, this is where the health facilities come in, and that is why I wanted you to come to this aspect of mentioning abortion, because I know most of the health facilities, they don't do it because they want to do it. You get my point? But they do it to even save the life of that young child, because some of them are so determined that when they don't do it, they will go outside there and chokora those things. And I can tell you from where I sit, I've witnessed several within this county happening that way. We've seen situations whereby these teenage girls goes outside there, and remember, the same people will even tell them what to do. You go do this. By the time they reach the facility, it is so damaged, these people have infections, and you have to go in a professional aspect and handle it. At that point, people might think you've done that abortion. You get it?
That is
you
why
didn't do that abortion. You're only trying to save.
I think
that child's life.
the problem is in the whole society.
Yes.
The child has decided that the pregnancy is already there. They made a choice to get to that situation. Then they need to also know their consequences. And as parents, the moment you realize, I believe most of these who go there to have those people out there do these funny medical issues on them is because maybe at home nobody knows they're pregnant. So they're trying to conceal it. They don't want people back home to know.
This is something. There are certain points that I can see you are trying not to understand here, and I want my viewers to get this aspect that once this child gets pregnant, the first thing they will do is try to find a way of solving the problem without their parents knowing. That is one thing that they usually do. Second, they will start by talking to the people around them that they are close to, their cycle. And that is now the same friends. And remember, they will get one who had been there before. And this one will say, it's okay. I know someone who can help you. Now you realize this is someone that you are with in your house, but doing these things secretly outside because they don't want you to know. And that is why by the time the whole circle is done and the damage is done, that is when you as a parent, you'll be able to know. You'll be able to know when now this person is feeling sick, they can't go to school, they keep on giving you an excuse. You take them to the hospital today, they are not improving. You say, ma'am, the malaria, you get that point. So when now you eventually, you see it is getting mad, you'll be like, even if it is her getting her period, why is it taking this long? And why is this kid just growing thin and thin? So when you start engaging in this serious conversation, now they open up. So when they open up, this comes out that it is not even complete. The process is not even complete. So where will you go to as a parent? You panic as a parent because first, you cannot even imagine that your daughter is already pregnant. So the first thing is you panic as a parent. Second, you are running to the medical facilities and what they are telling you, ma'am, your girl is pregnant. That is another shock for you to deal with. Before you analyze all these things, the doctor comes and says, it is even incomplete. Incomplete here means it has not completely come out. Then you realize someone who's already attempting abortion. In the picture, you see how these informations are hitting you up. It is one after the other. You are a parent, you are seated there, and you are being told these things. I tell you,
it will even shock you more.
Exactly.
If you did not try to have any sort of relationship with your child.
With your child, you will realize where were you.
If you made a good relationship with that child, let alone your child, let's say just a normal friendship with someone. If you make a very close relationship with someone, when there's a very slight change in them, in their behavior, in their physique, in whatever, you will notice. So if you are close enough to your children, you talk to them often, you have heart-to-heart conversations, you're very close, you know where they are at all time, what they are doing. It's not logical to think you'll be with them 100%, but do they tell you, are they free to tell you everything? When you are very open with your kids, then it's easier for you to notice these small changes when they happen.
Okay.
But if you don't have the closeness, a lot will pass you by. You'll come to know about a lot of things from neighbors, from friends, from people who see it every day. Because they run to them fast.
What is happening?
No, you need to ask yourself, why is this child of mine not coming to me fast?
How would you feel if one of your friends comes and say, but what's happening with your daughter? She has just gone big.
That would kill me.
She has just gone big.
I need that child to be free enough to come tell me, Mom, so-and-so touched my boob yesterday. I need that freedom.
You need that
but for that to happen, it's on me as a parent. Remember, I gave birth to this child. So this child has to be free enough to feel so comfortable around me to tell me such things. And to know that I will reward them for the truth they tell me. You don't punish.
So
for
you
the
will
truth.
say today, no cooking in the house, I'm taking you out for dinner. Just because this person opened up and said, Dad, you know what, today, today, there was this beautiful girl in school. No. I'm going to smash that boy's head.
No, when I talk about reward, I don't mean physical rewards. I don't mean physical rewards. You know, there's a way your child can come tell you that this one so touched my boob. You slap them.
Not I slap them. I'm going to slap that guy. I'm living out with my daughter.
Some parents slap the child. How did you let them touch your boob? Where are you? Exactly. You slap the child. Yeah. No, will the child come to you tomorrow?
No.
Not tomorrow. The guy will touch their undies. Will they tell you?
No.
Because you punished them. They know the consequences that come with them
saying certain things.
Yes.
You cannot
so
have this discussion.
They will just shut down. No, something much difficult and something even bigger will happen to them tomorrow, and they will not talk. They don't feel safe with you. But if they're safe enough, they tell you, Dad, so-and-so touched my underwear yesterday. And you're like, come, sit down. Why? What happened?
How did you guys reach there? Because for it to reach to that extent, there was
now at this point you don't even ask them, how did you reach there? No, you just try to let them talk. You give them the freedom. Tell me more. What happened? how did it happen? How did they do
You
it?
laugh about it to make them feel
It's killing you inside, but if you show them how much you're hurting or how much it's damaging you at that moment, they will shut down. Because remember, kids also don't like to see their parents in distress. So sometimes unaumia ndani, unapatia mtoto chance ya kuopen up.
Yes.
Now after they open up, now you have the whole story. Now you can release them, have time on your own, digest and know how to handle it.
Thank you so much. So we've discussed about causes and major issues that sometimes expose these kids to having pregnancies in most cases. And again, now we want to take a short time and look at what are some of the solutions that we can have as people or as the society. Are we able to offer some solutions so that we know how are we able to make this community a better place? We've mentioned a number of factors, but I will look at the first solution that we do have here. We talked about the sexual education. Are we able to have comprehensive sexual education? Introduce at age appropriate. Let's look at it at age appropriate. And also have these cultural sensitive programs in school. When we do have these cultural sensitive programs, you remember some of these programs teaches the pupils or the students. And that is one way of, some of the folk songs or some of these practices, they have teachings. And I believe this is where the school curriculum need to be adjusted to bring back the cultural performance that we used to have in the past. Because this is where they could come as a play, but they were very educative. On the other hand. And you find that the students would even go out and perform some small dramas over what will happen if a child gets pregnant in the society, and what will be the response of the people in the society, and what will be the response of the parents. But they put it in a play. So if they put it in a play, then that is one of the major education tool that can be used in the society or in the schools today. Community outreach programs. Do we still have those outreach programs today? That people go out there, a group of people go out there, sit down young parents, sit down young children, and also, because even the parents also need to be educated. It's not just about
yes, they do. You need to educate the parents first before the kids.
Exactly. So these parents, they come out in the facility. Are they seated down and being educated in the first place? So that you have your girl who is 5 years, up to 5 years, but are you planning in the next 5 years she will be 10? Do you have the right mind? Or what are you going to tell this kid? I'm aware maziwa chakula, someone is growing up.
And that is why I'm saying, like, this education, as much as we need it in schools, in the society, but charity begins at home.
Yes.
If you cannot teach your child, you see a 5-year-old walking naked in the compound. What are you teaching that child? That there's nothing private on their body. Their body is something they can just parade around. No. You teach them that, then all of a sudden one day you wake up and tell them, no, go wear your clothes. You're confusing this child. Can you tell them something that makes sense from the word go? Teach them the sense from the word go. There are some parts in the body that are private. You should never expose them.
You should never expose
teach them that from the word go. Yeah.
Now, we should find a way that we are able to engage parents everywhere we can, engage religious leaders and community heads in discussing some of these issues. Access healthcare services. But again, when we talk of access to healthcare services, this is where we bring in again the economic status of these parents. Because you can't put the facility there unless we are going to have a facility that operates on free. But again, right now, the government has tried to zero rate on several services, most of that touches the teenage people. I think the government has really pushed within the county level that I believe they are able to go to the facilities and they will be helped. As much as the drugs or other things might not be there, but for the healthcare services and the healthcare professionals, I believe they will find these people. I believe they're able to have a conversation as small as just a small dispensary at the rural center. They will find those people there. They are trained social workers whose work are more to just work in the society, educate the parents, educate the kids, and also able to bring them to the facility where they will now meet the qualified nurses who will still do the same thing. And finally, empowerment. How do you initiate an empowerment program within those communities? Because if you cannot focus on mentoring the young girls, equip them with all the skills so that they can know, if a man approached me and we are only two, how can I handle it? I'm 18 years of age. A boy approached me. We are two in the room. How can I handle myself not to end up being raped? And this will zero it down to back then in the society where our grandmothers would teach you guys how to even sit properly in public, how to conduct yourself in public, how to defeat a boy in public. You get it? Or in a private setup.
Storytelling. But no,
Yes.
you know, when you get to that point, it comes back to the point of friendship, building friendship with your kids. You know, our grandparents used to build that friendship.
Yes.
So in the evening, after everything is said and done, they would sit down somewhere and all the kids will come around them and they'll give them stories. And these stories are very important because the kids will remember these stories in life and they will help them navigate some situations. So we need to bring that back. So it's not about the father going to work, coming back home and going straight to bed. Your wife is calling you, there's food on the table. That is the moment you come.
You come there.
And when you come, you are so tired, your face is so grumpy, now the kids run away. What time do you get to talk to them? You need to commemorate those days when the grandparents
giving back time for our kids. And also listen so well.
It's not outdated. We need to bring that back.
And also, finally, policy implementation. Are we able to advocate on strict law enforcement? Hey, there is a problem.
A big one.
In law enforcement, there's a problem. Do you know those people negotiate at the rural level?
And if all these people get pregnant from people who are grown-ups, where are the grown-ups? And why are they not taking responsibility of their kids?
Yes, I once read a story whereby a girl got pregnant, a teenage girl, a secondary from two girl got pregnant, and the father and the guy agreed and says, I will give you 10,000 shillings and I'm going to marry your daughter. So let's resolve this at this level.
10,000?
Yes. Akapeana the Baba 10,000 shillings. After giving Baba 10,000 shillings, they said, now I'm going to marry this kid. Just to realize that the girl was not for that. The girl was, I want to go to school. So whatever it is, the girl was under some sponsorship program. So when now the guys realized this girl is not coming to school, they started following up on this girl. And they realized there was that local arrangement. The girl was pregnant, there was that local arrangement, and now they have to come in and intervene. But were there rules, were there laws that were implemented back then? I'm so happy about this case that those guys are behind bars. This is a case that I know of. I took my time to follow up. These guys are behind bars. Actually, none of them is serving less than 20 years. You can imagine. So if we can be able to implement and enforce some 10 laws that you touch a school girl, you're in trouble. Just touch a school girl, you're in trouble. We are able to protect our ladies, we are able to protect our teenage girls, and they are able to pursue whatever they want in the future. And they will come back with the same experience, and they will come back and be the champions of advocacy for the change and the implementation of these rules. I believe so. They will be the pioneers. They will be the people who will fight for them as much as they actually some of them become lawyers. They will be so ruthless, or judges. They will be so ruthless for these men who end up engaging with school girls, school boys, and making them pregnant and dumping them.
You know what you need to realize is that as much as these kids are the ones who get pregnant in the society, these things affect them so much.
Yes.
And the effect that it leaves on them carries on to the society at large. Because these girls who are traumatized today are going to be the parents tomorrow. So what happens to the society then?
You're already bringing up a damaged community.
A damaged community.
Yes, it's already damaged.
So
because
something needs to be done.
That child will never connect with the mother.
And I had a story where it's a true thing that happened. A child got pregnant from another child because they were both teenagers. But now the mother to the boy is the one that took the girl to the dispensary to have it terminated without the knowledge of the parents to the girl. So the mother to the boy, they're solving the problem. So she sweet talked the girl, made her pretended to love her, to like her. No, your parents know it's going to be a very big problem.
Yes.
You will not even go to school. So why don't we just take care of it? Now the problem came when the teachers found out that the girl was pregnant. And she was asked, are you pregnant? She was like, no, I'm not pregnant. When she was pressed is when she said, yes, I'm pregnant. Now by the time they were going to test, she had already terminated. But the mistake that she did, she allowed them to take her to the same facility where it was terminated. So her name was in the records. And in the records, it showed 3 days, 2 weeks ago it was positive. Today it's negative. Where did it go?
Where did it go?
Who did it?
Who did it?
No, it was a case with the authorities. Yeah, but it has already happened.
But I hope it was handled well. Someone is taking responsibility.
These are grown-ups messing up kids. How do you take a kid to the hospital to terminate a pregnancy? The parents don't even know. The guardians have no idea that is happening. It's so wrong. We need to all check ourselves.
So I think the bottom line is we need to have conversation with our kids. That is one. As a society also we need to take responsibility. It's not just about our kids, but let's take responsibility of the teenagers wherever they are. If you see something so bad going on with the teenager, it is your responsibility to call and say, hey, what's happening here? This is something that should not be handled this way. This is a child. What happened? Okay, she's pregnant. Can we find out what happened from this? But mostly, I also blame parents who try to cover up. But at the end of the day, they're also just trying to find a way of solving their problems or solving whatever the problem that has come in the family within the shortest time possible, so that the community doesn't know, because it comes with a lot of stigma, a lot of bad mouthing, if I can put it. So as a parent, you might also just want to conceal it within the family level and handle it. But what decisions are we making? Are our kids able to grow up out of that trauma? Because anybody who went through abortion, there is a procedure that was done. Those procedures, some of them, they are not easy to let go. And it's easier to do an abortion, but it is not easy to forget about the ordeal, the whole process.
The mental part of
it, it sticks there forever. So this is our first discussion on teenage. We'll be able to come again and discuss more on the solution areas. What are we able to do, and also bring in more people. We are also open to your opinion. You can just log into our YouTube channel and also just give us a comment. When you give us a comment, we'll be able to come back again and respond based on those comments, based on the ideas, or based on ways that you feel we can improve on more on these conversations, so that we bring in or we touch more lives outside there. But the bottom line should be, are we able to bring a change in the society?
Yes. So like, comment and subscribe for more, because more is coming your way. And we'll see you.
Thank you so much. I was your host, Henry.
Penina Lauzi.